Hey there, it's your host Dan. Today I'm going to be doing a scratch scuff repair on a Targa top panel. This is the roof panel off my 85 Corvette, and it's got a pretty good scuff scratched area in here. The scratches are deep enough that no amount of effort by hand with compound is going to get these removed. So today I'm going to make these go away and make this look like brand new. So let's get started. I'm going to tape off an area just a little bigger than the scuffed area. So I've got the remains from one of those headlight polishing kits that's from 3M, and I never wound up using any of the sandpaper when I did my headlights because I did them all by hand, but this panel's pretty much flat, so I'm going to try one of these. This is a 500 grit disc, and they're Velcro. It just sticks onto this backing pad, and that way I can use the drill. It'll go a lot faster than doing it by hand. So let's get over there to the top and start sanding this with the 500. Yeah, when I use the drill, it doesn't look like this sandpaper's hitting evenly, so I'm going to do this step by hand. Yeah, I think by hand is going to give me the result I'm looking for. I'm going to go get a little water. So next up, I'm going to switch to 800. And I know it looks like we're making it worse than it was, but trust me, this will get better. This will look perfect when we're done. And I think, I'm just going to use this on the backing plate by hand so I don't have to hold a rag to it. There we go. That'll work. So that's the result after 800. I'm going to take my tape lines and I'm just going to widen them out just a little bit, maybe by about a 1/4 inch or so. And I'm going to slowly, progressively move up to about 2,500, maybe 3,000, somewhere in that area. Next up, I'm going to work this area with 1,000 grit. Wipe her down. Let's see how we're doing. How are we progressing? Are we progressing? Then I'm going to use 1,500. I've widened the tape even further, and next I'm going to use some 2,000. I'm going to go over the area with that. And I'm pretty much going to be working in just one direction from now on. I'm not going to be swirling around in circles. I'm going to try and keep everything nice and straight and even. like to use a towel and dry it off periodically. This way I can see, you know, where might need any more attention, where some things might still be getting a little scratched up. Looks like down here could use a little more. There's 2,000. Next I'm going to use 2,500. So each time we're just getting finer and finer, trying to get those scratches reduced down. If there's any bigger scratches, you might have to go back a step or two with sandpaper, but we want everything to have a uniform surface. So here I'm going to get going with 2,500. Last sanding step, I'm going to use some 3000. This is a circle disc out of the headlight kit. I don't have any strip sandpaper up that high, so I'm going to use this and do it one last time with 3000 to try to get the finish as smooth as possible before we compound. And same thing, I'm just going to be working in one direction only here to try to minimize all the scratches. I'm going to use some 105 on the drill attachment, the headlight kit, and we'll see how that works. Getting these swirls and these haziness out. Mushing on the pad here. Let's see, how are we doing? Well, I got some good news and some bad news. The good news is that the spot here where the scuff was is completely 100% gone. You cannot tell anywhere where it was. The bad news is that now after 3000 I've polished this twice, and we could see, take a look at the light here, the way it drops down. This roof has a coating on it similar to like a headlight, and you can see here where it's sanded through just a little bit. Now I've done equal sanding here and over here, but here for some reason this coating doesn't want to play nice with being sanded and then polished out, and it's going to look hazy, and you're going to see it here. And this is 2 times with compound. I'm not going to bother with polish because that's not going to make this better. So the answer is going to be I'm going to have to strip this coating off the entire roof, which is going to be some labor. Yeah, I know it's going to take hours on end, but that's what's going to have to be done because this looks like crap. And once I do that, the roof will look like it's brand new. So back at it, sanding. I'm going to try some 600, see how fast I can get it off. If not, I'm going to bump it down a little lower. I don't have any 400, so I'd have to jump down to 320. We'll see how long it'll take with this. Let's see how well 600's doing. It's just okay. Yeah, and the more I work this now, I can see the coating just a little bit under the water. It's telling me where to press, where to remove. I can see where I'm done. I'm going to bump it to the 320 because I think the 600 is going to take me too long. I really want to just get that coating off of there. This will be quicker. Okay, I've been sanding the bejesus out of this top with 320 by hand because I don't have a DA. I'm already at probably 4 hours and I got just this little spot to go. The sanding on this top is a bitch. That coating really, you've really got to get in there with the sandpaper to give it some effort. All I've got to get is this little last box out. And I'm done with the 320 and the coating will be stripped, and then hopefully from there the sanding will be a lot easier, the progressive steps up to get everything back to clear again. I've really got to press down really hard to get going with this to get this coating to lift off. I now have one half of the top completely scratch free and all compounded out. Wow, this really was an undertaking for me. I mean, I'm not new to polishing plastic. You know, this is Lexan. It's a little tougher. It's a, you know, a little thicker, like a denser material than plastic. Plastic's a little softer. But it seemed like for a while, like I ruined this top, that I was never going to get it back to looking like it was, because I created thousands and thousands of scratches all over with the sandpaper when I took it down with the 320. But once I refined my technique, and it was really all in the sanding, not fully sanding steps. This is why I'm not skipping any steps either. After this is in the 320, I'm going to sand it completely with 400. I'm going to sand the top all over once again with the 600. And then even 800, I'm going to go to 800, sand the top all with 800. I'm not going to skip any steps because I don't want to leave any deep scratches behind, and it's just tougher to get it out in later steps. I'm on the 1000 step here on the other side doing the wet sanding, and wow, it took a long time to get that other side clear. Using the water as a lubricant. Pretty simple. Spray this down, keep it wet. and just keep sanding. I'm running out of water here. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'm going to move up to, I think I'm going to go to 2000. I only have one piece of 1500 left. And I got to make sure that nothing gets on here when I'm sanding either. Any little speck of dirt that gets picked up off the floor will get on here, scratching everything here on the roof. Okay, I'm gonna jump to 2000 now. 2000. Let's get going. I'm gonna start compounding, and wow, this pad here is really beat up. I'm gonna be destroying this pad by the time I'm done, but oh well, it works. One thing I learned though is on this Lexan, it requires a lot of pressure downward as far as the polishing stuff. It's gonna take at least a couple passes over the same area, sometimes 2, 3, maybe even 4, depending on how many of the scratches are still underlying under this finish. It looks pretty good. I'm at 2000. I'm going to stop here. I don't want to do 2500 because I know there's probably going to be some more underneath. If there is, the 2500, usually I can spot fix it with that, and this will take it out. So I'm just going to start polishing and get this side back to clear. Oh, the fun. Oh, the fun. Don't you wish you were doing this? Okay, I'm just going to do a small spot just to start with. See how I did. That's coming back pretty good. Not quite. I can still see some. Still see some scratches in here. That's where more compounding comes in play. Yeah, I can see over here where I've got a bunch. I can see areas I've got pretty good and areas I'm going to need to go over. Not bad for the first pass. Still a lot of scratches around the perimeter. I'll get those, and down here, but I'm getting the most of them out. A little spot here I got to get. Okay, so let's see how we did on our second pass here. Still a bunch down here. I got some deeper ones in here, and they're not coming out. That's a couple times. I'm going to use some 2500 and hopefully buff these out. I'm going to try this little disc. It's supposed to be 3000. Let's see what this does. I guess this is working. I want to try to make it as smooth as I can for when I go to the polish step. And I'm just very lightly going over the surface, and I'm trying to just set it up a little better for when it comes to compounding, because it'll take it out a lot easier. And this way, when I'm going over the area real lightly, hopefully if there's any scratches that are left in there that are still too deep, I can spot them at this stage too, and hopefully correct them before I polish and then realize I have to go back and then fix something that I didn't sand fully down. Get this whole area good with the 3000, and I want to just constantly keep knocking it off to make sure I knock all the dust out of it. And I'm just using it just ever so lightly, barely going across the surface here. And hopefully this will be a little less effort with the polishing. I won't have to go over it so many times just by doing this 3000 step here. This is pretty good, this area here with 3000. I'm happy the way this looks. I don't see any deep scratches, but every time I polish it I always find a few. So I'm gonna get started. Get my 105 back out. Get my pad loaded up. Alright, I gotta go back to, looks like 2000 on these scratches here. Kind of sucks when you have to backtrack, but oh well. That's what I gotta do, is what I gotta do. Okay, so I'm almost done. Thank God. I've got just this little spot to do and a little touch up over here. This is a huge undertaking, and number one, I probably should have just left that scratch alone, because this panel reconditioning has taken me more time than doing a complete 7-step detail on a car. This right here, I've already taken it from 320 all the way up to 3000. Buffed this, polished it out, and there were still some scratches after polishing. So I've got to go back sanding and figure out, you know, where those scratches are at. They're going to be somewhere in about the 1000 to 2000 range. Step that back up and repolish it. Some spots I've had to do a couple times, and then, you know, keep polishing, and I work a little small section at a time until I get it back to looking like a mirror finish. And even over here, this looks really good, and I don't think the camera will pick this up, but I can see a little scratch line right there. And I'm going to use some 1500 and see if I can get that out. And just doing this with my finger, I've got to be really careful, because you don't want to press too hard, because this, you really should use like a block, but that'll do too big of an area. And the thing is, you don't want to press too hard, because even if it's like a couple 10,000th of an inch, when the light hits it, you might see that little waver in the light. So if you're working a little area like this, it's good to feather it out into something a little bit bigger. But I think that's in there at about 1500, I'm guessing. And it looks like there's a little bit behind it. So any spots like this where I've already done it, you know, I'm all the way to the end, it's polished, there's still some little imperfections in there. And I'm using the light, you know, every which way to my advantage, moving the panel around and trying to find those little hairline scratches. I guess there's a couple more here. I'm hoping that the 1500 here is going to do it. But I gotta be real careful doing this with a finger, because you don't want to gouge into it, even at 1500, 2000, you know, 3000 level. You will gouge it and you will see it. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now I'm gonna, after the 1500, I'm gonna just try to jump to the 3000. Hopefully it'll take it out. Like right here, it's clear, just a pass or two with the 3000. You can see it just kind of clouds it up. And that's the idea. I can see as I'm going over the area I sanded with the 1500 where it's starting to remove those marks from the 1500 and, you know, get it down a little smoother. And this disc here too, when it starts getting a little full of the dust, I make sure to tap it out. But I'm just going to try to work this area a little wider with the 3000 than I sanded with the 1500, because once again, we don't want to see any ripple in the light. And even for a small little scratch right there, I'm making the area nice, big, and wide. I mean, a lot of it is all in the sanding, a lot of and it's really hard too, because when you're sanding and you go up the steps, it's hard to see those deeper scratches. I mean, if there's a deeper scratch in there at the, you know, 800 step and you miss it, and you go all the way up to 3000 and you polish it out, I guarantee that 800 scratch is going to rear its ugly head, and then all of a sudden you're going to see it. And then after I kind of hit that area with the 3000, I'm going to go over the top of it just very ever so lightly with the pad, just very, very light pressure, just back and forth. And if there's any scratches in there, I should be able to see them. Okay, so I think I got that. And then my 105, I ran out of 105, so I went out and got something, I guess, comparable. This is Ultimate Compound. And I found that it pretty much works just about the same as 105. The pad here from the 3M headlight restoration system, I've done like the equivalent of 2 headlights. I'm destroying this pad's pretty much about done because I've done the whole top with it. But this kind of needs like a forced rotation to get these scratches out. If you tried doing this by hand, you would really be here forever trying to get this out. This seems to kind of work well, and I just make sure, because I'm using a high speed at sometimes and I'm using a lot of pressure on this, I just want to make sure that I don't overheat the pad, overheat the panel. Sometimes I might stop and let things cool down. See, even after that much, the pad it's pretty hot actually. So you don't want to keep too much pressure going. That's why I only do a small little area at a time. Just make sure that I'm not trying to, you know, get overboard and do too big of an area and overheat the pad. And I'm always coming back and wiping off the product, seeing where I'm going to need some more polishing. And this did pretty good right off the bat. This took all those 3000 scratches right out. Right here I need a little more, probably because the angle where the tripod is, I didn't get right there. But okay, let me see if I got this corner area done. Smaller the area you work, the better, it seems, for me, because you're always looking at a different angle in the light, and all of a sudden you'll notice, oh wait, there's a scratch right there, oh there's something there I missed. So I just want to see, did I get out, I want to see if I got out that line that was there. Couple more little scratches here. I could probably hit this with the compound again and that'll be okay. Yeah, so that just needs it twice, right up to about here. Okay, I'll do a little more of this stuff on. It'd only be the second time I'm doing it, and it's pretty much right back to glass again. Right back to a perfect mirror shine. And I know this is probably really hard to see on camera, because I'm using the light at angles to my advantage, make sure that I get every last little scratch out. And I'll tell you, since I did this with 320, there was a shitload of scratches in this panel. I was like, oh darn it, did I ruin the thing? I thought I almost messed it up. But we're almost there. A little scratch right here, very thin hairline. This will probably just take a quick little. And I'm always wiping it right as I put it on. If I get it out, I'll see it. I'll see if I got it out. If I didn't get it out, once again, that means I got to go back. And if I like to think of this pad and the compound as like a, as far as a sanding grit, somewhere, I don't know, 6,000, 7,000, somewhere in that range. You know, this is 3,000 right here. So if this won't take out 3,000 and the scratches are still there, then jumping back one step is not the answer. I've got to go back maybe one or two before that, which I usually go back to usually 1,500. The 2,000 doesn't sometimes seem to get it out. I have to put extra effort into it. A couple spots I had to use 1,000, but once again, you got to be very careful if you are spot fixing a straight line scratch. So let's see, I'm going to use the light here. Am I happy with that? No. Yeah, I can see right here there's just a small hairline. This is a scratch. I didn't get it quite out. So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back once again. It's hard to see. See, so it's right like here. I'm gonna go back with the 1,500. And here, this will be like the third time now here in this area. I'll go back with the 1,500 and see if I can get that out. And every now and then, I rub the paper across probably my shirt just so I can get all the little dust out, because it'll clog up if you're doing a little spot like this. Okay, did I get it? Hopefully. Okay. So after the 1,500, I'll come back with 3,000. I'm skipping a step here. I'm cheating. But whatever. As long as you don't go more than double. I'm going from 1,500 to 3,000 here. It's not like I'm jumping from 1,000 to 3,000. That would be harder to get those scratches out. And I'm using the light too here, and I can see where is this pad pulling out those scratches from the 1,500. Because ultimately, when it's smooth from 3,000, it should just look like a perfect smear on there. You shouldn't see any scratches at all whatsoever. And then I'll kind of feather in my area. Once again, the concentrated area was like a line right like here, so I'm kind of feathering it out pretty good. You don't want to make it look like it's distorting in the light. Okay, and then after I've got this area with 3,000, where I was kind of maybe using a little bit of pressure before, I'm going to use very light pressure just to further get this area smooth. I found it helps a little easier with the polishing. You know, this way it's all just set up to be smooth as it can be. This little area here where I've just done it with 3,000, that hopefully should take about a pass or two to get it out with the compound. So let's see. Let's get some compound on there. Okay, and let's see. And mush it around, because if you don't, it's gonna fling. It gets everywhere anyways, kind of, but Try to minimize it. Okay. Okay, let's see how that did. First pass. First pass. Wow. So, like I said, this 3000, here, I'll tip it up so you can see it like this. The 3000 will come out with compound pretty easily. So there's no reason to sand any higher than that. And that was just the first pass. That took out a whole bunch. And let's see if I see any more. Oh, that did really good. Yeah, if I try to look for that line, which was like right here on the very edge, the camera's not going to pick this up. I can see it in the light. But I got it. It's gone. Okay. Just a little area right here, it looks like. A little to the edge. A little more compound. A little more compounding here. And I'm almost there. Thank goodness. Okay, this area here, I'll try it one more time. See what it does. It doesn't come out, obviously, in a pass or two. Then I'm gonna have to switch back to sanding, unfortunately, till I get it right, till you get it perfectly level. Because, you know, this is black, and with the light shining on it, if there's a single scratch on it, even like a spider web scratch, you will see it. You can't miss it. And that's the aim, the goal, to get rid of every single one of those. We check our pad. It's starting to get hot again. Give it a wipe. See how well that did. And I see one right here. Maybe that if I can get the camera to show that. I don't know if you can see that scratch right there. It's just maybe a centimeter above my thumb. But have to go back again. Okay, where's my 1500? Back with my 3000. And I can see the 1500 scratches were kind of, it just disappears. It looks like a stain. Looks like you're polishing out a stain. So it seems like I'm chasing little lines just all over the place on the panel. I don't want to even speculate how many there have been so far. But I think a lot of them are probably down, I don't know, maybe they were caused somewhere in the 800 to 1000 level. Because I have to go back to get them out. Light scuff with the 3000 once again. This is why this takes forever. Because you'll do an area, then all of a sudden, oh no, I missed a little spot. And you gotta go back. Do it again. Buff it. Go back. Do it again. Okay, 3000. Once again, here's what 3000 looks like. It should be really polished and smooth. Shouldn't be any visible scratches in there. A little more compound down here. Pad mushed in. There we go, just a short little burst. That's all I really want. Don't try to overheat the pad, don't try to overheat the panel. How did I do? How did I do? Did I get it? It's still there. It's really tiny though, it's really small. Okay. I'll do it once again. Okay, I'm all done with the polishing step and that little crazy headlight polisher, thank goodness. Now I'm going to move on to 205 and I'm going to do the whole top real quickly. I'm not going to spend too much time doing it with this, just to brighten it up a little bit from the compounding. And same thing, put it on there. I'll just be using probably a low speed, maybe no more than 3 or 4 tops. Now that we've done all that hard work with compounding and polishing, I'm going to follow that up with a sealant. This is Jescar Power Lock Plus. It's a polymer sealant. It's pretty darn good sealant too. So I'm going to switch from the white pad to the black finishing pad. Each pad gets progressively kind of softer and softer. So this is pretty much just, I'm using the pad so I don't have to do this by hand. It just aids helping me get it on there, getting a nice smooth coat. Okay, I'm going to let this sit for probably 30 minutes. We'll let the power lock set in and do its voodoo sealing coaty thing it does. And we'll come back and buff it off with microfiber. Okay, the power lock's had about an hour here to set up. And this should come right off like butter. And it is. Good. Okay. And it's looking really nice. Really, really nice. My microfiber, buff this all to perfection. Okay. Yep, real quick. Really fast here. Getting that buffed off. Give us some protection on here on the top with the polymer sealant. Okay, now you're probably thinking we're done. Nope, I got one more step. I know you're thinking, oh my god, Dan, you're killing me. You're killing me with what you're doing, but I'm gonna add some wax on top of the sealant. The pros will call this like a stacking, where you got one layer and then you put another one on and you're kind of like building it up. And I'm just gonna put on a real light layer. Just go around it really quick with some of the wax here. Oops, that's way too much here on the pad. That's a ton. A little bit of this goes a long way too, kind of just like the Jescar. So I'll just work myself around here and I'll put a layer of this on here as a topper on top of the polymer sealant. Just give me a little more extra protection. You know, this way when it gets dusty and I'm wiping the dust off, you know, I'll kind of be taking it off the wax layer and I won't be really kind of, you know, eating into the sealant layer. This will give me a little extra protection. And this really doesn't take that long. It's only going to take me just a minute or two here. I really put too much on to start with. And I'll just get this applied to the entire top. Okay, now I'm going to let the wax, the colonite, I'm gonna let that sit for maybe like 30 minutes. And I just like how I did with the polymer. This way this will set up. And then I'll come back and once again buff that off with a microfiber. The wax has had enough time to do its thing, but I'll give it about a half hour. Final buff here should be real nice and easy. Almost effortless, which it is, which is good. I don't want to put any more effort into getting things all cleaned up when I've done it 10 billion times already here on this panel. But this should be my very last step, and I am done. Thankfully. And once again, I cannot stress that, you know, if you don't have the gumption to see this all the way through to the end, to not even bother. But, you know, I was almost contemplating when this was at the 320 step to just stop right there and maybe have this painted instead of trying to bring this back like this, where everything is just completely clear and you can't see any visible scratch lines in it. A lot of time doing this little section by section, but it all works out in the end. I think I want to say, oh gosh, this took me 16, maybe 18 hours total to do this whole panel like this. But even though it was only a scuff to start with, I mean, I really could have started with a panel that was completely trashed where the whole panel was scuffed, because taking off that layer, once again, you know, we're going down to 320 and we're basically creating 10,000 scratches across the entire roof, which we have to get out slowly and meticulously. You go over each little area multiple times, you know, buffing it and going back, sanding and figuring out where that scratch is at, what level it's at, and then back and forth until we get it right, and then move along till we get the whole thing done. And I think I'm gonna call that done. It is pretty much shining just like brand new. I mean, it looks perfect. There's not a single like scratch line on it. I got all the scuffs out. And the good thing is though, if I ever do get another scratch on here, it will be relatively easy for me, because I'll just go to wet sanding a little bit and then use the compound and polish and boom, be done. You know, it won't be like before where I have to take everything completely down, you know, and then start from scratch, so to speak. Okay, so I think this is looking fantastic. Wow, a lot of work on this, but it's really looking good, and it feels smooth like glass, and it looks like glass, and the shine is definitely there. It's like a mirror. You know, if it looks this good on the floor, imagine what it will look like on the top of the car. I won't notice anything. I'm really only going to see the glare pretty much on the edges. Here's another angle of the top. All pretty, all polished on out to perfection. Wow, is this a lot of work to get this to look like that. It really was. And once again, I would not recommend this for the meek to get this done, because it will take a long time, a lot of patience. It's really in the sanding is where the devil in the details are. But since this is Lexan, this doesn't necessarily have to apply to a Targa top. You know, you could have a piece of furniture at home, something like that with a scratch on it, and you can use the steps I showed how to, you know, wet sand and polish with compound, and then use the polish afterwards and buff it and bring it back to a nice shine like this. So I hope you enjoyed the tips I have here for you. Hope you enjoyed watching the video, and as always, thanks for watching.